Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Stylish Leadership. My name is Matthew Simmons, your host. We are so glad and honored that you are here with us. I have my good friend Danielle Reed here. She is our guest for this episode, and as many as you want to be a guest on.
That works for me. We can do it.
Absolutely. So if you can, before we get started, SimmsEssentials.com, go check that out, and also check out DangerousSpaceMedia.com, the network that this show is being aired on. And without further ado, this is a good entrepreneurial friend of mine, Danielle Reed. She works for a Forbes Top 50 company that I work for as well. And she just met with the CEO yesterday. So that's very rare for young millennials to do that. And the reason she is in that position is because she has a limitless mindset. And I want to make sure that we stress that, because there's nothing that this girl can't do because she doesn't have any limits on herself. So many people tell me, I can't do it because, and then they find an excuse. And really it's an excuse is a reason why you can't do something. You're looking for reasons why you can't do something. So Danielle, I know you have many thoughts on that. What are some thoughts?
Especially for millennials like us, it's crazy to see that most of us believe that we can't do things because of it was embedded in our brain. And that goes from like school systems, parents, churches. They've all embedded it in our brain that we need to get a good job and go to school, do this, do that, do everything in place in order to have a great, successful life. And I believe it's totally opposite. I believe in America today, business is the key to freedom and to wealth, because it ultimately you have the time and the money to do whatever you want when you have a business. Although it is going to take a few years to build it, to get it off and running, the ultimate end goal is the most important thing. And for young people like us, we want that microwave money. We want it fast. We want it there immediately, and we don't want to wait. We don't want to focus on building it slow and letting it mature, which is the issue with us. I feel like once you build it, you have something that you can be happy, look back on and be happy that you did it, rather than if it's fast. I feel like if you got it fast, you're going to lose it fast. That's how I feel.
That's a good point. And it is a microwave society. Everything is speed. Everything is instant. But you can't get instant results with an instant work ethic. You got to do it diligently and consistently.
I agree. And for the excuses, there's a saying that goes, excuses build monuments to nothing, build bridges. Oh, I actually have to read it. So.
Yeah, go for it. Do what you got to do.
I actually have to pull this one up and read it. So give me a sec.
No, that's good. And I always like to say, when you look for a reason I'm not looking for a reason not to do things. I'm not looking for a way not to do things. And and you're going to, particularly if you're young like us, you're going to hear a lot of, but you're too young. You have your whole life in front of you. What do you know? Or they're going to look down upon you. That's why self-improving is so important. And I know that me and Caleb talked about this, and here, me and Chris talked about it with men's fashion. But self-improving is so important because you will be respected for the image that you project. And I think that that's so huge. And that's why I'm an avid reader. I remember when I was, Danielle, I was talking with another friend of mine, Caleb, and I was talking about how I read 62 books last year.
Oh, really?
And he's like, he also approached that milestone because the average CEO reads about between 60 to 80 books a year, and the average person in America reads less than a book a year. Less than a book a year the average person reads. But most of those people are also probably, if we do their average TV time or whatnot, is probably 40, 50 hours a week on television or mindless media, just not growing themselves. And I don't ever see a benefit if you're because a lot of times people's education stops when they graduate school or whatever level that is. And if I always want to say I want to learn more post-college than in college, because college is only 4 years, and I've learned more out of college than in college. And so just kind of example, just even this month, I've been able to be tutored by multi-billionaires, by talk show hosts, by pastors and whatnot, and other businessmen, because I've read their books. So I have all these individuals. This is how I look at it. I have all these individuals on my shelf, and I can pull out their wisdom at any moment. And that, I think, is so huge for all millennials, not just millennials, but all millennials.
I agree. You need to have a mentor. You always need to have a mentor, and you always need to. Actually, my one of my mentors, my brother, we had a guest speaker this Saturday in our training, Mike Howard, who is an associate of Les Brown, and he told us millennials love upgrading, whether it's for cars, for phones, but we don't upgrade our thinking. And that's the biggest thing that we need to work on, because you need to expand your mind. You need to always self-improve. And that's spiritually, physically, mentally. We need to keep self-improving, because then we get complacent. And when you're complacent, nothing goes on. Nothing's happening. Nothing's moving for you. So you always need to be self-improving. And I'm still looking for this quote, man.
No, that's good. No, this is a quote that is worth waiting for. But that's true, and a lot of people in our generation, we do like to improve things. We like the looks of improving, but sometimes we understand if it doesn't happen instantly, because in the media we see overnight successes, but we don't see the work it takes to get there. And that's like I've heard many people say, I was an overnight success and it took me 20 years to be that way. People don't respect the struggle. They don't respect sometimes the stagnation of, because I've read about business people and they're like, oh, it took me a couple years to build my wealth, but it took me even 5 years to even feel like I could do it, and then it took me 20 years to actually do it. And then, the compounding effect is not attractive. But again, what were you put here for? I was put here as an ambassador, not as just an average person.
I agree. I believe we were created in the image of greatness. So why are we on this world existing when we were meant to live and do something great with our life? So I finally got the quote.
Awesome.
It says, excuses build monuments to nothing, build bridges to nowhere, and those that use these tools of incompetence become masters of nothing. So I believe we need to get rid of the excuses, because as long as we have excuses, we'll never go anywhere. We'll always be complacent with where we are. So that was something really big for me, and that's one of the guys in the business who I heard that from.
Absolutely, and that's so true. And every time you're in history, you can't find anybody who did something without having criticism and without having some form of hardship. Abraham Lincoln is a good example of this. He lost several elections before he won the presidency, and he was known as one of the greatest presidents in American history. But if he was judged by his failures, he would not. Let me pull that up, because now I got to pull this up, because this is really good, because Abraham Lincoln's success story, and guys, bear with us here, but this is something that's very important, because Abraham Lincoln was one of the best presidents, and at one of the most critical times in our nation's history. Success. It gave his path to success and failures. Let's look at this. This is so profound, because I look at it, because no one talks about failure. And he didn't quit. He was born into poverty. Okay, so in 1816, his family was forced out of their home. He had to work to support them. His mother died in 1818. 1831, he failed in business. 1832, ran for state legislator and lost. Also in 1832, also lost his job. Wanted to go to law school but couldn't get in. 1833, borrowed some money from a friend to begin a business, and by the end of the year he was bankrupt. He spent the next 17 years of his life paying off this debt. 1834, he ran for state legislator. He won. 1835, was engaged to be married. Sweetheart died and his heart was broken. 1836, had a total nervous breakdown and was in bed for 6 months. 1838, sought to become Speaker of the State Legislature and was defeated. 1840, sought to become elector and was defeated. 1843, ran for Congress and lost.
Wow.
1846, ran for Congress again. This time he won, went to Washington and did a good job. 1848, ran for re-election to Congress and lost. 1849, sought the job of land officer in his home state and was rejected. 1854, ran for Senate of the United States and lost. 1856, sought the vice presidential nomination at his party's national convention, got less than 100 votes. 1858, ran for U.S. Senate again, he lost. 1860, he was elected president of the United States.
That's crazy.
And it doesn't mention this, but while he was in office, his son died.
But you see, he never let any of that stop him from where he was going.
Yeah.
If we just got rid of the excuses, there's so much we could do. I have this one regarding all the big companies that we know of. Blockbuster, back when Blockbuster was big. Blockbuster refused to buy Netflix, and Netflix was literally laughed out of the meeting. But now it was sold for $50 million, and its net worth is $64.7 billion. So if Blockbuster never, that was a big regret on there, and I believe it, because now Blockbuster is completely gone.
Yeah.
MySpace rejected Facebook's original purchase price. Facebook is now worth $439 billion.
Yeah.
Ross Perot refused to buy Microsoft for $60 million. It is now worth $507.6 billion. George Bell, then the CEO of Excite, refused to buy Google for $750,000, which is such a minimal investment. Google is now worth $641 billion. So what if they quit after that when they were rejected?
Yeah.
I mean, all these big companies that we don't even think of, they didn't quit. They didn't let the excuses get to them, and now look at where they are.
This is true, and this is another speaker. One of our trainings came, and he gave I gotta look this up because it was the guy who had the originals shares of stock in Apple, and he sold it. Let me Google this guy who quit on Apple, and this is now again hindsight is always 20/20, but this guy I gotta look for this because this guy if he didn't do this, the unluckiest man in the world. Oh, this is him. This guy's name is Ron Wayne. Unluckiest man in the world. Meet the forgotten Apple founder. Everyone looks at Apple as Steve Jobs, but he wasn't the only guy who missed out on $35 billion after selling his shares for $800 in 1976.
Man.
So that guy, he sold his shares because he quit. He was one of the original founders of Apple. He sold his shares for $800 in 1976. Today they'd be worth $35 billion. Wayne left Apple because he found Jobs difficult to work with. He describes Jobs as stubborn, cold, and argumentative. So here we see a man, and it's sad, and I really feel for him, but he made their own decision. How many people have given up on things because they don't agree with somebody, they can't get along with somebody, or they just don't believe in themselves enough? That's the biggest one. And how much of their destiny have they missed out on?
Think of the McDonald's brothers. Most people don't know about the McDonald's brothers because they just know Ray Kroc, who they believed was McDonald's. Like he created McDonald's, but he didn't. The McDonald's brothers had an idea, a restaurant. His idea was to franchise that, and that's how McDonald's became so big because they attempted to do it before. The restaurant didn't go well, so they just wanted to stay complacent and not expand and just stay in that one area. So he took over, and they didn't like working with him, but he made McDonald's as big as it is. If you think about it, the biggest distributor of toys is not Toys R Us. It's McDonald's because of the locations that it's in.
Right, yeah.
And that's because of his idea. And so for us to have such minimal ideas and not think that we can do much more with our life is just insane to me because I feel like we can do so much more if we actually just implement the action to go behind our goals and dreams.
Yeah, and I think that it's almost when we were at the turn of the century, if you look at how this country was started, it was started by people who had a lot of big goals and dreams, and then we get to the Industrial Revolution, and they need workers in factories, so they just say, let's create school like a job. So you clock in, bell rings, you go to lunch, bell rings, you go, you leave, and then you go home. You have a little bit of work to do, and then you just veg out, and then that created an entire generation of people who just said, you know what, this is good enough, and I wasn't created to be good enough. I was created to thrive and to exceed. And I'm just average can kiss me where I sit. I'm not going to be average.
I agree.
Totally.
I think back then I know jobs were a little bit better because the benefits and everything that they had in place, but as time went by, jobs started going down, and I feel like now they're going to completely go away soon. I mean, I feel like they might because you can see now when you go to Walmart, there used to be so many cashiers working. They have self-checkout now, and it's expanding. I was at Walmart the other day, and they used to only have one self-checkout corner. Now they have two on each side.
Yeah.
Kroger's is adding more. I feel like they're cutting wages. I mean, it's crazy. That's why I feel like jobs are they're designed to keep you dependent. And we should never have to depend on someone else to feed our family, to control our life when we can do it ourselves. So, yeah, that's how I feel about that.
Yeah, because what you end up doing is people say, well, it's guaranteed money. Well, it's guaranteed as long as you're needed.
Yep.
And then if you're not needed anymore, then you're expendable because you are an expense to a company when you are a wage earner. And the thing if you have a job, use it as you dig your way out. It's almost like the Alcatraz analogy. Dig your way out while you're still losing it, But
agree.
Quit mentally, man. Quit mentally.
I believe you should continue to work your job as long as you can, but build something on the side. And I don't mean like get a second job because to me, 2 jobs are for 2 people.
Yeah.
My brother says it all the time. 2 jobs are for 2 people. So build something on the side for you, which is a business.
Yeah.
And that's what I believe. Jobs they aren't the way they used to be anymore. And a lot of people want to stay there because of the security. Because business, it's not promised. I mean, the first 3 years plus, most business owners don't profit. And that's what scares most.
Yeah.
Because they need that security blanket. They need to be coddled like a baby. But I mean, if somebody else came to your boss and said, I'll do his job for $3 less, you're gone.
Yeah.
You're gone.
Yeah, because business, and unfortunately, many times business is a bottom line thing, and that's not mean or cold. That's just business. That's just the way it is. So you just got to put yourself in a position where you're in the driver's seat. Being an entrepreneur puts you in the driver's seat, and this is a generation that likes that. Yes. And older people look at it, and I hear it all the time, like, well, why are you still doing it? Why aren't you this? And then all the why aren't yous kind of put it in, and then what you have is you have people who all they hear is the why aren't you, so they just automatically assume that they can't. So when you present them with something like, hey, what a great idea, they say, instead of saying I can, they hear in their mind, why aren't you? Then that translates to I can't, and then that's all that they hear. That's why reading books is so huge, because what you feed your spirit is what comes out.
One of my favorite books that I recommend to everybody who's starting to get into or starting to change their mindset at all, but especially in business, is Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. That's one of my favorite books, and just shows you the way to think. It shows you how to control your thoughts, because we all need to control our thoughts. Once we control our thoughts, we have control of our brain, so we can do whatever we want, whatever we please, which is amazing. So the negative energy is just it doesn't work.
Yeah,
you can't have that. You have to think about what you're thinking about, and then control that.
Yeah.
So,
and one that I really got a hold of a few years ago was What to Say When You Talk to Yourself.
That's a good one.
By Shad Hemstetter. Because I had a very trying time in part of my life where I was really negative and didn't think good of myself. But then I kind of got over that, and I'm like, I really am negative. People are negative, and now they're positively negative. It's like, oh, and then they'll use phrases like, oh, man, how you doing? Well, man, my back hurts, but I'm here.
Yep.
You know, the things like that. And that book right there will tell you, don't be careful what you say, because you'll start to get that into your life. That's a huge book. Then
what to watch the things that you say.
What to say, and then How to Win and Influence people.
I
by
haven't got that one yet. I read halfway through What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, and then I got Mind Power, and so I started reading Mind Power, which is also good. It's crazy because in all of these books that you read, entrepreneur books, self-improvement books, they all say to watch what you think about, or watch what you say to yourself, watch how you speak, because that's the biggest thing with us. Yeah, we need to be careful about what we're thinking about. Oh man, I just lost my train of thought.
No, that's good. And the Bible does say that power of life and death's in the tongue, and as a man thinketh, so is he. And people say, oh, that's weird, and I've heard people say that's new agey, that's weird. You can't control. What you project out is what you get. And on this show, one thing I like to do is I like to teach men and women how you dress matters, what you say matters. Yes. And from a lady's perspective, you can definitely give ladies tips on like how do you dress, how do you carry yourself, business, professional, because you're very professional, very well dressed.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. You want me to go ahead and get right into that?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. So for being a lady in business, I feel like the way you dress is going to attract the people who attract that. So if you dress a certain way, you're going to attract people who dress that way too, or people who are interested in that. I like to dress business professional. I like to stay fully clothed, if that makes sense. I don't want to show too much off, because ultimately my end goal is to attract ages of all types, like all types of ages. So I have with me in business with me, I have people up to 55 in business with me, and as young as 19. So I feel like you have to, well, first off, you have to it's different with each person that you're dealing with. So when I'm dealing with someone older, I will change the way I'm talking to them. As far as, man, I'm just like going a blank right now.
Are you good?
Okay. So let me backtrack to what I was talking about. As far as dressing, I have to talk to the girls who are in business with me, who are fairly new, about how to carry themselves. Because I feel like the way you carry yourself is the way you're going to be perceived. And even though you might be different, in here, perception is everything. Yeah. They want to see how you look before they sit down and talk to you, if that makes sense. So I had to change that too, because when I first got into business, I still wanted to wear like, shorter shirts that were a little shorter up here, and not blazers. I wanted to wear short skirts, but as time went on and as my business started to grow, I realized I need to change the way I am perceived. So I need to change the way I dress. I need to dress more professional because I am in a major Fortune 500 company, and I need to carry myself like that.
Yeah.
Because if you carry yourself as this big business person, you're going to attract people who want to be like that.
Yeah.
So if I dress with short skirts and high heels and tight shirts, I'm going to attract more of the clubby scene. The girls who kind of want to be like that, but aren't really up there.
Absolutely. People judge a book by its cover. Is that's fair or not? But that's what happens. So here I like to say, God looks at the outward appearance. Man looks at the outward appearance, and God looks at the heart. Let's give them both something to look at.
I agree.
Let's give both. Let's have character, but let's walk like we know what we're doing, and let's dress for where we're going, not where we're at.
I agree.
And that's so huge. And it's going to be a process, but what this show is all about, and what it's been about, and will continue to be about, is to get you connected to people's mindsets that can get you there. We can't live life for you, but we can at least give you tools on that. And what me and Danielle are going to help you do is we're going to help you think like that, and then also she's going to give ladies out there that are watching, she's going to give you some things to incorporate in your wardrobe when you're just starting out. So if it's all right with you, we can pick that up in the next episode.
Yep.
Let's do it. So stay tuned for the next episode, and own your own style, my friends, because you're fearfully and wonderfully made.
I do want to leave you with this quote, because this is one of the big ones for me. And it is from the book Mind Power, and that is written by, I just drew a blank. Give me 1 second.
No, you're good. You're good.
Let me pull up the quote real quick. Okay, and then I'll pull up the author's name. But your mind creates your reality, so you can choose to accept this or not. You can be conscious of it and set your mind working for you, or you can ignore it and allow it to work in ways that will hinder and hold you back. But your mind will always and forever be a creativity of your reality. So that is that, and I need to find the author. Have you heard the book Mind Power?
I've heard of it, yeah.
Is it John Kehoe?
Yes, John
Kehoe.
Mind Power, John
There you
Kehoe.
go.
It's a great book.
Excellent. That's a good thought to leave you with. We'll pick up on that in our next episode. You're doing good.
Being on camera.